So I don't even know how long ago it was. I'll ask Andrew. Andrew Fletcher was on, and he talked about inclined bed therapy. This is our follow-up show. So if you raise the head of your bed 6 inches per Andrew, why don't you email in or call in and tell us what your experience has been, good, bad, or indifferent. We're not just trying to stack the deck here. So if you haven't felt anything, that's okay. Call in or email in and let us know. We want to know. That's what this show is about. We're doing a little follow-up, and I want to learn more about why this is what it is with Andrew Fletcher. I think Andrew, where do you live?
I live in Paynton in Devon.
I'm sorry?
Paynton in Devon.
In Devon, which is in England, right?
In England, yes.
Good afternoon to you, and good morning here in the United States. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Patrick, and good morning to you as well.
Yeah. Devon, where is that in relation to, say, London?
It's London's on the east coast, and Devon's on the southwest coast.
Is it raining there like it usually does in England?
No, beautiful sunny day.
Really? Have you lived there all your life?
No, we've been down here 26 years now. We're refugees from the Midlands.
And in a couple of days, I think tomorrow, Scotland's voting on in or out. What do you think?
Well, I think Scotland could well go alone.
Really?
I don't see any problem with, other countries have done this, so I don't really see any problem with Scotland doing the same.
If Queen Mum will let them out.
Yeah, I don't. Unless they rig the vote, I don't think.
Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. There's people who say if voting really mattered, they would outlaw it. So we'll just have to see. It's not who. Don't get me started, but it's not who votes; it's who counts the votes, right? So, Andrew, when were you all here last?
It's been 3 months almost.
Has it really?
Yes.
Well, I inclined my bed about 2 weeks after our show, 6 inches. And I have to tell you, I'm feeling better and better and better and better. Of course, I do a lot of things, so I can't say to you, honestly, well, this has really done this or this has really done that. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I do a lot of fun, crazy stuff. You know me. I'm just always trying something different. But I'm feeling better and better and healthier every day. I don't know if I can attribute that to inclining in my bed or not. But tell folks the basic premise of this who didn't hear your first show. Okay.
It's rather than going to the full theory on trees, just how it applies to the body would probably suffice for today.
Okay.
If anyone needs to see the full explanation, they have the other interview. There is a density change in the blood. The literature states that gravity doesn't play a role in circulation because it acts equally on the blood flowing down as it does on the blood returning, so therefore can't play a role. What the scientists and the medical people have forgotten to take into account is that when we evaporate water from our lungs, the blood that supplies the fluid to the lungs becomes denser as a result of shedding the water, because we're evaporating pure water from a liquid that contains dissolved solids, dissolved minerals, sugars, and metals. So it's impossible to evaporate that water without changing the density of that blood. That blood then passes through the heart, enters the main artery, and then is dragged down by gravity. So gravity, if we can imagine, for every breath we take, it's the equivalent of placing a pinch of salt in the arterial blood at the top of the arterial tree.
Really?
So if we're the right way round according to gravity, i.e. standing up, sometimes sitting if we're sitting correctly, although you can sit incorrectly as well, which can affect circulation, i.e. wheelchair posture. But if you're sitting with your knees slightly lower than your seat or level with your seat, then gravity can assist the circulation by dragging on those tiny density changes, drawing the blood down to the kidneys. Now the kidneys filter out the blood as it passes through the kidneys, and then we excrete the spent salts in our urine. So the blood that passes through the kidneys becomes less dense, which means the upward flowing blood is always less dense than the downward flowing blood.
Okay. All right. And then how does this relate then to raising your head?
Well, if we raise the head end of the bed then we can have gravity assist in the circulation 24 hours a day instead of being interrupted by up to 8 hours or even longer in some cases of horizontal bed rest. If all the vessels in the body are placed along a mattress that's flat, gravity is actually acting perpendicular to those vessels. So it's still applying a force to those salts and minerals in the blood, but now it's acting as a brake.
Mm-hmm.
It's not assisting those salts to migrate through the vessels. It's actually pushing them down towards the mattress. So that is causing a slowing down of the circulation. Yes, we have a heart, but what we're talking about here is something that gives that little extra,
Mm-hmm.
To the circulation. And I believe that, I've shown that it has a profound effect on our circulation, even in cases of gangrene, cases of leg ulcers. I mean, my father had three varicose ulcers, and he'd had them for 25 years, and they did heal up.
When he inclined his head?
Yes.
I'll be done. So it's helping the whole system work at night with circulation without extra strain on the heart?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It actually slows the heart rate down by 10 to 12 beats per minute.
Which is good.
Yeah, and slows down the respiration rate by 4 to 5 breaths per minute. Now, the reason it slows down the respiration rate is because the lungs inflate more. So if they're inflating longer and then deflating longer, then the lung doesn't have to inflate as many times.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with the heart rate, I believe, is that the heart stroke is actually improved on the sloping bed.
Oh, the heart stroke. In other words, the force, or how would you explain that?
Well, like all pumps, it inflates the same as the lungs. It inflates with the blood to a greater extent, and then forces the blood out to a greater extent. So that extra swelling of the heart and contracting of the heart takes a little longer. So over the course of a minute, then it does have a significant reduction on the heart rate.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that would to accommodate a more restful night's sleep?
Yes, without a doubt. Quite a few people that have had sleep problems and sleep-related problems, i.e. nighttime paralysis, they've reported phenomenal benefits in sleep pattern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Andrew Fletcher is with us. If you inclined your bed after the last show, email us or call us and let us know what you felt. 888-663-6386. I know a lot of you did. I was getting emails in. Patrick@oneradionetwork.com. Well, my sleep, which I've had an issue with for many years, has certainly improved in the last 3 months. There's just no doubt about that. It's still not where it's going to be, but it has improved. Of course, once again, I've done a lot of different things. I'd like to learn more about this whole idea with the blood and the thickness. And does it affect the blood in any way that you know of as far as, all the LDLs and the thickness and the fibrin and all that stuff? Do we know?
Well, I would think, just thinking about if we increase the circulation, and as we've just described, we've aligned ourselves so that the kidneys can function a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So getting rid of toxins, getting rid of spent salts, and some waste in the blood should be accomplished a lot better with the bed on an angle.
Mm-hmm.
And to test this, my wife and I we measured the density of our urine.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we did. And this is incredible. We measured our urine density while we were horizontal. We measured the urine density while we were normal daily walking around and sitting down, and we measured the density of the urine while we were on an angle on the incline bed, And then we measured the density while we were sleeping head down in the opposite direction.
Really?
Yes, what we found was that IBT actually improved the density of the urine, or increased the density of the urine, over and above normal daily activity. Horizontal bed rest decreased the density of urine. In other words, the kidneys were not functioning as well while we were on a horizontal bed. And here's the icing on the cake. When we tilted the bed head down and feet up, apart from us both getting diarrhea, because this is a great slimming aid, which is definitely not advisable for anyone to practice this, but the urine density went down to near water readings.
Really?
In other words, no mineral salts and no waste was ending up in our urine.
So in theory, or in practice, or in science, the density, the better, higher the density, the better, meaning the kidneys are filtering more efficiently.
Well, if the kidneys are filtering more efficiently, that means that the density is actually lowered more as the blood passes through the kidneys. So the blood, before it enters the venous return, becomes less dense as a result of us being aligned correctly with gravity.
Oh, so when you incline the head, the density goes down.
Yes.
Which is better.
But the density goes up in the arterial side and goes down in the venous return.
Okay. I'm not sure I quite understand.
Well, if you think about, we're on an angle, so our respiration rate has improved, and as Dr. Macy says, our oxygen sats have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a fantastic interview, by the way.
Yeah.
If we're increasing the load on the arterial side, we're increasing the density on the arterial side. So the blood flowing down becomes slightly denser as a result of tilting the bed.
Okay.
In other words, the salts are not being stored in the blood as they would be if we were horizontal. But therefore, that those salts are being filtered better with the bed on an angle, i.e. the kidneys are able to remove more of the waste and the salts into the urine. So the blood in the venous return actually becomes less dense than if we were on a
horizontal
bed.
Yeah, I gotcha. 15 minutes after the hour with Andrew Fletcher, Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. Your experiences here. I listened to an earlier show, writes Kimmy, with Andrew Fletcher and his inclined bed therapy. I slept well, but I began walking most mornings with aches and pains in the joints, soreness in the lower back and neck. This has been going on for some weeks. So I got my husband to set up the bed head on 6-inch blocks of wood from 27 June 2014. Immediately the next morning, I woke up with no joint pain at all. From 28 June to this day, I've not been troubled by any pain after sleeping in the inclined position, and my husband is snoring much less and not as noisily, thanks to Andrew and Patrick. Looking forward to hearing what others have experienced. Huh.
Fantastic.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
So what do you explain what your research has shown, why this is what this person has experienced, the joint pain?
Well, again, yes, it's all about circulation. If we can increase the circulation, then we're actually reducing the damage caused to joints. We're assisting the repairs to take care of what's happened during the day before. If we're on a horizontal bed, then NASA, in fact, have shown that a horizontal bed, even over a 24-hour period, can actually cause decalcification of the bones. So that also means that the joints can be decalcified as well. But what we've seen is that the opposite can be achieved. Particularly, one lady, Ruby Tate, I think I mentioned her on the last show. She had osteoporosis, and she tilted her bed. And Ruby couldn't turn herself round. She had no movement in the neck, which was very painful. Osteoporosis is decalcification of the bones, so the bones become brittle. A lot of people experience this when they get older. And she tilted the bed, and she was actually featured on the local TV news, and she was able to turn her head. So all the joints had some restorative effect from the bed. She was able to dress herself, put a bra on, which she couldn't do before. She was able to turn over in bed. Again, so it proves that the circulation is very important. Well, we know how important the circulation is, because if circulation stops, we're no longer a viable human being.
And so NASA, that's why they put their head up in an inclined position when they fly around for 30 days or whatever.
Well, there would be some benefit from that, because a lot of people have the understanding that people in space are actually in zero gravity, but they're not. That
Right.
You know, to get away from the influence of the Earth, you would have to go beyond the moon, way beyond the moon, because the moon influences the Earth's tides. So the Earth is, the gravity from the moon actually counteracts the Earth's gravitational field. So being in space is microgravity. So while we're in space, there is some beneficial effect, undoubtedly, from the Earth's gravitational field. So I'm not sure whether having the head up while they're in space would make a great deal of difference. In fact, all of the exercising and all of the methods they've got to try and reduce the amount of damaging effects of being in microgravity don't seem to be helping a great deal.
Well, what do you think the issue, one of the causes of varicose veins, or what they call this chronic venous insufficiency, which is pretty common these days, and something's going on with the veins?
Yeah, well, the general feeling, as we discussed again in the last interview, was that the valves are playing a role, and it's the failure of these valves that cause the veins to bulge. But if it is the failure of the valves, then how come inclined bed therapy has actually reversed varicose veins? You know, obviously someone with a severe varicose problem, it's going to take a great deal longer than several weeks or even several months,
Sure.
To get the full benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But, a fairly substantial vein can go flat in 4 weeks. Now, if this is happening, then clearly it can't be the valves in the...
It can't be. It's something else.
No, it can't. It has to be something else. So what I believe is happening there is that, you remember we discussed just the downward flow actually stimulated by gravity, dragging upon the density changes in the blood. Now, if we apply this dragging effect by gravity to the blood, to the molecules in the blood, that applies tension to every molecule, not only in the arterial flow, but also in the venous return, and that will affect every single drop of blood in the body. So that applying tension would lower the pressure in the veins, and would also, by applying tension, cause the blood to actually pull the veins in. So that would, that is, in my opinion, why IBT is working for chronic venous insufficiency.
Mm-hmm. So the chronic venous insufficiency, or the people get the edema, and that is that a kidney thing or a gravity thing? Do you think? Do we know?
Again, edema is caused by, and this is accepted, is that the pressure inside the veins becomes greater than the pressure from the surrounding tissue. So the fluids migrate from the blood into the surrounding tissue, causing the lower limbs to swell. Now, the exact opposite occurred when we tilted people's beds. In fact, some phenomenal results in edema have been achieved by raising the head end of the bed, which is ironic, really, because the medical profession say that you need to raise the legs in order to shift the fluid back up to the trunk.
Yeah, that's what's...
No, that's great, because all you're doing is shifting the fluid around the body, whereas IBT is actually pulling the fluid. Because you've reversed the pressure problem, or solved the pressure problem, the fluids start migrating back from the surrounding tissue into the veins, whip round the circulation through the kidneys, and excreted in the urine. So initially, someone with edema would probably notice that they non-stop trips to the bathroom while the fluid is being pulled into the venous return.
Oh, so that's what could be a lot of people when they pee, and It could be just her body is working fine.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's interesting, Andrew, that most guys, when that happens, they immediately go to the prostate and think it's a prostate issue. But it may be not. Maybe it's more of a kidney bladder thing that's the body's just getting rid of fluid that it's supposed to.
Yes. Doctor, hang on, what was his name now? brain dead as well. I forgot the guy's name, Peter Lewis, a vascular surgeon. Again, I mentioned this the last time. He had a patient at Torbay Hospital, and during our conversation at his home, he said, well, I've put your theory to the test with a patient. She's severely swollen. She has ascites, which is a problem with the liver. And we've tried the diuretics. Nothing seems to work. He described it as being like a giant water balloon. He said he'd had real problems trying to get to the bottom of this, and tilted a bed. And then he literally left his house and went to the hospital to check this lady, and came back, and he said he couldn't believe the difference. He said that it's just incredible. No diuretic has ever had that effect on a person with, yes.
Andrew Fletcher is here. If you raise the head of your bed, call us or email us and let us know your experience. Patrick at oneradionetwork.com is the email. Telephone number 888-663-6386. You can check out Andrew's website after the show, inclinedbedtherapy.com, inclinedbedtherapy.com. 6 inches, get some books. That's what I do. Talking with Andrew Fletcher. It's a follow-up show about 3 months ago, asking you if you inclined your bed. If you'd be inclined to email us and let us know some of your experiences, or call 888-663-6386. Patrick at oneradionetwork.com, inclinedbedtherapy.com. Andrew Fletcher is in Devon, over there near Queen Mom, in England, where it's probably, I don't know, maybe 4:30 or so in the afternoon where Andrew is. Hi, Sharon. Patrick, here's my story. I started the inclined bed therapy the first week of July. I have 2 herniated discs, L4 and L5, and I've had chronic pain for at last 8 years. Spent thousands of dollars on ineffective treatment until I listened to the show on inclined bed therapy. I was unable to sleep on my left side due to numbness when lying in this position. I'm delighted to announce that after 2 days of using inclined bed therapy and $4 worth of wood, I'm now able to sleep on my left side without any numbness. I'm so grateful. Yes, I do tell people so far I'm the only taker. Much love to you from Janet. Well, my goodness. Isn't that great?
That's fantastic.
Isn't that great? So what do you make of that? I mean, I guess, do you think the spine is happier in this position?
Without a doubt. If you sleep on a horizontal bed, again, you get the degeneration between the joints. And the compression that we've encountered throughout the day with our weight compressing the spinal column is not resolved by sleeping on a flat bed, or indeed by sitting being in the sitting position, which again compresses the spine. But when you're on a sloping bed, not only do you improve the circulation, which goes around and rehydrates all of the little cushions between the joints.
The discs, right? The discs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we're applying traction to the spine. So, yeah, a few people will complain about aches. But what we're seeing here is that a decompression of the spine. Now, decompression is great for people with an injured spine, because that's exactly what you get from the chiropractor. You get some decompression going on, and it helps to pull the joints back into line. Well, you can do this gently over the course of a few days or even a few months, and that traction, anyone that tries IBT can actually feel the traction, and this is caused because your body's trying to move down the bed, your weight is shifted, and it's held back by the friction between yourself and the mattress. And what this does then is that shear force is applied to the spine. It's also applied to the joints as well. So it relieves the joints, allowing the fluids to get inside and actually cause some repairs.
And keep those discs nice and puffy. That's what happens when folks get disc issues. They kind of get dried up.
Yes. We've had some significant improvements in a lady with Dowager's hump. It's actually straightened out the spine. There's a girl I mentioned on the last show with cerebral palsy with severe curvature of the spine. It corrected the curvature of the spine. And people with spinal cord injury have found huge benefits from sleeping on an inclined bed.
Mm-hmm. But, I've often read that folks will actually flip themselves over in this inverted position to decompress the spine. Isn't that kind of counterintuitive to what you're saying?
That's well, yes, I suppose it is. Uh-huh. But what you're doing there is you're literally using the body's weight to apply traction to the spine. IBT is doing the same, but you get the adverse effects of being head down, as I explained. For example, my wife and I ended up with diarrhea because our gut wasn't functioning properly while we were in the head down position. And indeed, NASA again, bless them, have spent many thousands of dollars paying people to sleep with their heads down and their feet up.
Really?
Just to see what happens with regards to the degenerative effects of being head down and feet up. So they've actually accelerated the aging process 10 times faster.
Really?
By having healthy subjects sleeping head down, feet up.
And plus too, with inclined bed therapy, you're getting 8 hours or so every day, right?
Yes.
And these inverted things that people just flip over for 20 minutes or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I guess they would have their benefit if they can stretch out or decompress the spine in some way, which I guess they could.
Yes, that could be achieved on an inverter.
Sure.
But it could be achieved a lot easier and a lot more safely on an inclined bed.
Sure.
And at a fraction of the cost.
So what do you suppose is going on with the gut when you do the head down and you all got diarrhea? That's pretty interesting.
It is interesting. In fact, I heard that the actor Marlon Brando was encouraged to sleep head down because he had a huge problem with weight.
Yeah, he did.
So excuse the pun, yeah. But it didn't do Mr. Brando a lot of good, as we learned. What happens with the gut? Okay, if we go back again to the way that the tree functions, the evaporation from the tree's leaves changes the density of the sap. Gravity pulls the denser sap down. That applies tension to the downward flowing sap, which stretches back to the return flowing sap in the xylem. But not only to the return flowing sap, it stretches back to the soil water, drawing the soil water into the tree. So that tension affects the molecules of water even into the soil. Now the same applies to the body. If we've in the explanation I gave before, the downward flow generated by evaporation from the respiratory tract applies tension to the downward flowing blood, which stretches back to the venous return. That venous return actually picks up fluid from the stomach, from the gut. Yeah. Now, if that fluid in the gut is dilute enough, everything's hunky-dory, everything works fine. If we've overloaded it with denser substances, i.e. eaten too much salt, then we actually can trigger the diarrhea, by having too much density in the gut contents. Now, we achieve that by simply tilting the bed round in the opposite direction. Because the salts were not being excreted in the urine, then there was a density imbalance between the fluids in the gut and the fluids in the blood. So we interrupted it.
Mm-hmm. So do you think when we elevate the head, it helps the body to get rid of any excess salts?
Yes, there's a detox going on for sure.
Which is important because who knows exactly how much. I know we need salt, it's very beneficial, but we don't really know how much. I guess everybody's different.
Yes, there's still a bit of an argument as to how dangerous too much salt is. So certainly I've seen dogs on the beach that have drank too much seawater.
Yeah.
And they end up with projectile diarrhea. Yeah,
Sure.
and I've seen this time and time again.
Of course, that's different from sea salt. I mean, that's pretty. There's a lot of sodium in ocean water. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there evidence that species other than humans that know this technology sleep with their head raised?
Yes. As we mentioned briefly, cattle and sheep in fields, if there's a hillside there, if they're lying down, they'll all be lying down facing uphill.
Huh.
Yeah. There is some species of bats, because again, bats hang upside down, but there are some species of bats also that sleep upright.
Uh-huh. What about chimps and apes?
Yes, again, chimps sleeping in trees, make a nest, sleep head up in the nest.
Mm-hmm.
Lions in the zoo. I noticed a recent trip to the local zoo that they've actually got like a sloping ramp with two posts and a turfed roof, and the lions are always on that turfed roof, always facing uphill.
Huh. Andrew Fletcher is with us, Inclined Bed Therapy. If you've had some experience with raising your bed up, email us, patrick@oneradionetwork.com. This is from Shane. My input would be extremely favorable. It's like I'm aware of the Earth's curvature, and I am sleeping on that curvature rather than just lying on a flat Earth. Dreams are just so vivid and colorful, I definitely can't go back. Huh, that's fun.
Again, that's an interesting comment because quite a few of us have reported vivid dreams. It's very difficult to determine that it is a dream. It is so vivid.
Uh-huh.
And I believe that this is an improvement in brain function while we're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to remember our dreams, which is something a lot of us can't do.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What's the magic number with 6 inches, raising the bed 6 inches and not 4 or 8?
Oh, what I did to determine this, I used a loop of plastic tubing, which I joined together, so it was a complete closed loop. The loop was filled with water, and some coloured salt solution was added before the loop was closed. That was then stretched along the bed, and I raised the bed up 4 inches, and I got a downward flow in the one side of the tube as the coloured salt solution migrated down through that side. But I had a return flow over the top of it in the same side of the tube. In other words, it didn't cause the whole the fluid-filled tube to circulate. It was two-directional flow in one side of the tube. When I raised the bed up a further inch, up to 5 inches, I managed to get the circulation completely flat. So you had a downward flow in the one side of the loop and the return flow in the opposite side of the loop. So that was representing the arterial flow in the body and the venous return in the blood flow. And that was the logic I used for the angle of the bed. But interestingly enough, the ancient Egyptians, which I mentioned again, got there before me. In fact, all of their beds in the tombs were raised exactly 15 centimeters ahead.
No kidding. Yeah, you mentioned that before. That's crazy.
Yes,
Ancient Egyptian, they figured it out.
Yes, they did.
That's amazing. I wonder how they did that. Well, I guess, they're pretty creative people if you build pyramids and stuff.
I would think, because another thing we've noticed on the sloping bed is that, if you've been working hard and do manual labour, your muscles ache the next day, even, sports people, sure. Soccer stars, people that are engaged in strenuous activity, get a lot of damage to the muscles and they get a lot of aching. Well, I should imagine that the people working on the pyramids were experiencing some discomfort.
You think? Yeah.
Because without a doubt, they were shifting some impressive pieces of rock around, with very limited tools. So I would think that, one or two of them would have slept on the slope somehow and noticed that they weren't aching so much. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, I'm just guessing here that that's probably how it developed, that, someone realised that you're not getting as much Well, my son calls it something. I forgot what the name is, but he works out, uses weights, and he's noticed as well that, after he's doing his workout, if he's sleeping on an incline bed, his problems are far less in the morning than if he's sleeping on a flat bed. Mm-hmm. If he's sleeping on a flat bed, then it's going to take him a couple of days, to actually get over the damage that is caused to his muscles. Because that's what happens. You tear muscles and they repair, and that's how you get bigger muscles.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I don't know if this means anything, but I do quite a bit of spiritual exercises and, just kind of go to the other realms and play around, And, and we're taught in my spiritual discipline that it's actually more beneficial or easier to leave your body in a sitting position than it is lying down. And I find that I can do, I can have more profound experiences in a sitting position than I do spiritual exercises actually lying down. I wonder what that's about. Something
Again,
there. Something there.
Yeah, the brain's functioning better while we're in the upright position. Mm-hmm. I believe that's.
You think that's what it is?
It gave us a huge advantage over every other species on the planet.
Maybe so.
When we stood up vertical, we completely changed the way our circulation works.
Really? So, in general, is it healthier to stand than sit?
Yes, but again, if we see a guard on duty, and we've all seen the silly videos of people falling over at weddings where they're standing motionless and they pass out.
That's right.
Yeah, and the guards would do the same, but the guards tend to shift the weight from one leg to the other leg. You can't actually see them doing it, but they're gently rocking from side to side, moving the weight. And what this is doing, this is causing the tissue below the feet to act as a pump. So it's actually helping the circulation. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine that if you put your foot down on a car foot pump, you blow air into the tyre, yeah? But you're also compressing the fluids beneath the feet.
Okay.
So each time you take your foot off and put your foot back down, as if you were walking, you're actually benefiting from this. But if you're standing motionless, i.e. your job requires you to stand motionless
Are the guards at Buckingham Palace or something like that?
Yeah. You could be in serious trouble if you don't weight shift.
Oh, sure.
Because what you've done there is you've actually compressed the vessels below the feet.
Sure.
And that's having an effect on the whole circulatory system.
But
not just blood circulation, but also cerebrospinal fluid circulation as well.
So that's why they blame sometimes edema or chronic venous insufficiency on standing. But what they're not saying is if you move around, then it's not an issue.
That's right.
Right.
And in fact,
it's better for you.
People,
yeah.
Yes.
It's better.
They encourage people with varicose veins, especially if they've just had surgery, get as much walking in as you can.
Okay.
Yeah?
That's why walking is so beneficial. It makes everything, or the rebounding that we talk about, it makes everything just work. Yeah, it's interesting. I began standing up about 3 weeks ago doing my show and actually working on my computer, where most of the day I'm standing. I'm standing right now. But with my headsets and the microphone, I can dance around like I'm doing now, on my tiptoes, or I can do deep knee bends during the commercial. And so I feel better standing up. I just do. I feel more energy standing up.
Sitting's a huge problem as well.
Why is that? What's going on scientifically, Andrew, with sitting?
Well, again, if we need that free passage from gravity down from our heads to our feet. If we've got our knees higher than our seat...
If you've got our knees what? I'm sorry, say that again?
Higher than our seat.
Okay.
If we've got our knees raised and our seat is lower...
Okay.
Yeah, then what we've done, we've introduced a brake on the circulation. And that together with the compression on the buttocks, can actually slow down, just as I've explained with the tissue beneath the feet. That pressure constantly can slow down everything in the body. Actually could cause you to go to sleep. And in fact, I took the main boardroom in Jaguar cars. I was there for 2 hours, and they said they have never been so captivated by an explanation of how a driving seat could make someone fall asleep at the wheel.
Because your knees are actually higher than your booty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to the people at Jaguar that if they redesigned the seats and raised the seat up slightly so that it was at least level with the knees or possibly a little bit higher, then that would prevent people from falling asleep at the wheel. And they added that people in trucks, where they've got these taller seats, they don't get so tired. And in fact, I did some experiments myself. I did a few extra cushions and went on a huge journey in a car, which I'd done before, which slaughters me when I get out of the car. I'm unable to walk, We've all done that. We've travelled too far without stopping. And yet, when I did this, put the cushions underneath my seat, I got out of the car as if I hadn't been on a journey.
Oh, because you got the knees lower than your booty.
I felt fresh. I felt fresh as a daisy.
Because the whole pump thing is working when it's like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's why people who do sit a lot, they have a really good experience. Like I have a chair here that I don't use anymore, but it's from a back store, and it's just like a round ball kind of thing that it's on springs, and when you sit, you're sitting, your knees are way lower than your booty, and you can actually bounce on it. And I never really got tired using that.
That's interesting.
Have you ever seen those?
Yes.
Yeah, and then people also use balls, like you can actually get these balls that you can sit on, that your knees got to be lower than your seat, and they feel good if they sit at their computer using these balls, balance balls.
Yes. Yeah, that does make a great deal of sense.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does to me.
And also for the guys who are sitting a lot, it cuts off. It's not a good thing for the prostate.
That's true.
Yeah. That's what got me thinking about it. I watched a video from one of our past guests, and he started talking about sitting in the prostate. And I said, well, you know what? I think I'm going to keep my prostate in healthy position. So I just started standing. I said, I don't want to mess around with this. Okay.
I've had some feedback from people that have got prostate problems and problems with frequent urination, and it's provided huge benefits to these people.
Really?
Huge benefits, yes.
With Andrew Fletcher, Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com, and ClydeBentTherapy.com. I'm surprised we don't have more, because we had a lot of people that wrote in that said they were going to do this, and I'm surprised we don't have more people writing in. Maybe they're just not there this morning.
Yeah, I've had a lot of problems with people giving feedback.
Yeah. People get shy,
Yes.
Yeah.
Know the source. One Radio Network. Talk to Patrick now. 888-663-6386. Or email patrick@oneradionetwork.com.
Incline Bed Therapy with Andrew Fletcher, Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com, InclineBedTherapy.com. I wonder, have you had any? I wonder if there's any research into incline bed therapy and sexuality and making babies or anything. Have you seen any research there?
Yes.
I just threw that one out there. I didn't know what you were going to say.
Yeah, erectile dysfunction's been corrected.
How is that?
Well, it improves the blood pressure problem. I was an embarrassing encounter with a good friend who told me that she had a problem, and to her delight, it's actually been corrected with a sloping bed. But back to fertility.
Yeah.
A friend of ours, I shouldn't say who it is really, but she was on IVF, and she had no intravenous fertilization, is it? In vitro.
In vitro.
I forget
Okay.
what it's called.
Yes.
In vitro fertilization. Yeah, and it had no effect. She couldn't conceive, and we convinced her to tilt the bed, and she'd given up. She'd spent a fortune on the IVF. Yeah, and she conceived.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Isn't that funny?
I guess I'm just wondering if those sperms need to know which way is up and which way is down.
Right. That's right.
So something as simple as the direction required by gravity.
That's so hilarious. And she conceived.
Yes. But
Yes.
not only did she conceive, she kept the baby on an angle throughout the full term of pregnancy. She had a great time. Baby was born really healthy. And the baby was put on an incline from birth, as has happened with my granddaughter. And now my new granddaughter, who's now the youngest IBTer that I know of to date, she again has gone full term. And she was born 10 days early, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And she's advanced. For her age, she's advanced. She'll rest with her hand underneath her head, like someone thinking.
Okay.
And she'll put the thumb in her mouth each time without missing. So hand-to-mouth coordination's there right from birth. And this is from day 2 of being born. So hand-to-mouth coordination from day 2.
So you actually recommend then that they even to put the babies 6 inches up?
This really touches a bad chord with me at the moment because of I had a bad experience with the Foundation for Sudden Infant Death.
Yeah.
The Cot Death Foundation in the UK, and now the Lullaby Foundation. I was invited to the home of Dr. Shireen Chandler, who was then the senior research advisor for the foundation. Mm-hmm. And I was invited to her home in London, travelled there at my own expense, and took my experimental tubes with me and explained all about the circulation and why we should keep babies on an angle and should never place them flat.
Okay.
And she agreed with me. She turned around and she said, "My God," she said, "I think you've solved it." I said, "What do you mean by that, Dr. Chandler?" She said, "I think you've solved sudden infant death syndrome." And that, that meant that she'd agreed with me that babies shouldn't be put on a flat bed. And yet they carried on with their Back to Sleep campaign and encourage mothers to put the babies flat.
On their back?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I actually believe that if we elevate the cots, there will be no more sudden infant death syndrome.
Really?
Yes.
What is
It doesn't sit very well with me. In fact, I went to see a solicitor to see if I could sue the foundation.
Wow.
To make them listen, and the solicitor said to me that there is no precedent in law to make someone listen, even if a child's life is at risk.
And, well, you know how these foundations are, Andrew, that they get, like the diabetes, and they get to do it a certain way, and it's very hard for them to change their ideas.
I'm glad you mentioned diabetes, Patrick.
Yeah.
Because there's a pilot study being conducted in an island called Pohnpei, which is Phnpei, and it was conducted by Tateki Yeating. Forgive me, Tateki, if I've pronounced your name wrong. It's just a small pilot project because they have a huge problem with obesity and diabetes on the island since these people have adopted the American diet.
Yeah.
And 13 individuals volunteered as participants. 12 of them had been diagnosed by their health service providers to be diabetic, and one was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. All participants listed other problems, including back pain, edema, difficulty sleeping, frequent night urination, snoring, morning lightheadedness, and pain in joints. And all participants claimed to have noticed improvements in all of these problems.
Wow.
But what they also noticed was that the IBT actually lowered the sugar levels in the patients.
Lowered their blood sugar levels?
Yes.
What do you suppose that's about?
Well, again, sugar's dense. Mm-hmm. So if we've got the bed on an angle, then we're helping the kidneys to actually flush out some of the sugar. Mm-hmm. But also, by being on an angle, the body's more alert, there's more going on, your metabolism's increased. So we're also able to burn up some more sugar. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's a double wham effect. Yeah.
I tell you, I'm not.
Two of the participants, the blood sugar actually went up instead of down, and this Tateki investigated it, and one of the participants was not on an angle bed and had been overindulgent at a wedding for 2 days. And the other one was not on an angle bed and had been overindulgent at a funeral for 2 days.
Eating all those sweets. We've had questions from listeners about these foam wedges that you put under the mattress. Is that the same thing as raising your bed?
No, I wouldn't go with a foam. First of all, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Foam makes you sweat as well, so I want to try and avoid that. But the other thing is that the weight of your shoulders will actually press down into the foam. Yes, you'll get that to some degree with any mattress, but I should imagine that the foam would amplify the problem. So you wouldn't be getting the full angle.
What do you do for people? What ideas do you have for people that have beds that when they raised it up, they felt like the bed was going to kind of collapse? Do you just have to get a stronger bed?
No. What can be done there is that you can buy a piece of plywood, sheet of plywood 8x4, or you may need two sheets of plywood and cut a strip off, to actually extend it to the width of the mattress. Pop that underneath the mattress and then put some wooden cross beams, one 6 inches at the top, one 3 inches in the middle, and then drop the plywood over the top of the cross beams and sit the mattress on top of that. Job done.
Oh, so just to support a bed so you don't have to get a new bed.
Yeah, and what that does, it takes the load off the corners because it's the joints that are a problem. But you can also buy some strengthening joints. These are available. I've seen them on eBay, which are just like a metal bracket that you screw onto the existing frame, and those can actually beef up the joints.
That might even be easier.
Yes.
So it's a joint issue. It's not the center. That's not the middle of the bed that's a problem. The joints don't take that pressure.
That's right, because your weight shifted, as I explained earlier, because your weight's moving towards the base of the bed. What that's doing is it's loading or stressing those joints, which are designed to take a flat weight. Yeah. So you're actually trying to twist the headboard and the footboard over by sleeping on that inclined bed.
Okay.
If you have a metal frame, that should be fine.
Yeah, but so if you have a wooden frame that can't take it, you could just put some braces on the joints, and that might just do the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Here's for Andrew Fletcher. This is from Kathleen in Iowa. We started the inclined bed therapy in July. My husband is doing great with it, less pain in his legs and knees. I, on the other hand, have more restless sleep. Does he have any feedback from people that might have less results, such as detox and take a longer period of time? Could she be detoxing and why she's more restless?
Yes, I would imagine she could. She could be detoxing, but she also might be getting a little bit too warm.
Warm?
Because my wife's feet, she used to put her feet on me and they'd be freezing cold. For an hour and a half, the really bad problem with circulation. And now she sleeps with her feet out of the bed. They get too warm. So, it might be the case of just removing a little bit of the bedding.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly, there's definitely a detox going on there. If you think about heavy metals, we've talked about heavy metals, sure. Mercury and lead in the blood, and also in the brain. But it stands to sense if you tilt the bed, it's going to be migrating towards the kidneys.
Yes, and the kidneys work better when the head is raised.
Yes.
And so do you think, has it been your experience that this raising the head of the bed, it keeps improving as the months and the years go on?
Well, it certainly seems to be the case, yes.
Does it?
Yes, obviously. Can you improve on feeling fit and well?
Yeah, exactly. There's always another step, huh? Right?
Yes. One lady who's a nurse, who's on the Facebook group, the Inclined Bed Therapy Facebook group, she's made a comment. She said she's a nurse, by the way, who works in an accident and emergency ward in America, I think, and she said that us health professionals lead a very unhealthy lifestyle. We eat all the wrong foods.
Sure.
we're on our feet most of the time. She said, we all need to sleep on an angle bed.
Well,
so I said, well, yeah, that's great, but so do the patients. And
yeah.
She agrees, yeah.
Well, that'd be great. They could just it'd be easy enough to raise the head of the bed. Here's from Bridget. Hey, I've been using the inclined mattress. I hope it will help my feet. I'm still having tingling feet. It seems to be helping. I do know it has helped my veins in my legs. They look much better. I don't have bad ones, but I did have more and more coming out because I'm on my feet a lot. They're now a lot better. I have to sleep away from home a couple nights every other week or so, and wondering if it messes up to go back to a flat mattress every once in a while. Also want to ask about making love. It's a bit different going uphill. Yeah, well, good luck with that one, Andrew.
Oh, thanks for that one, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you. Give that one to Andrew. I'm not messing around with that one. I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, I suppose a footboard would be a great idea to give the husband purchase. Don't really have a problem with that. Again, it's you get used to being on an angle bed.
Sure.
Great news about the veins.
Yeah, that's nice.
That sort of it is. I mean, that's added a little bit of weight to what we discussed in the first interview. I'm surprised that a lot more people haven't come forward because there have been so many people that have contacted me and told me what's happened to them and that they heard it on the radio.
Well, we've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of comments on the first show that are on the website. I could have read all those, but people can go on there and read the comments, on the comment page, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we've had lots of there. So that's been real good. And we're getting more in now. Here's one from Ellen. My back feels so much better. I'm a dental hygienist, so feel a lot of stress in my shoulders. My chiropractor noticed that my right shoulder was not so tight. My massage therapist told me my back looked balanced. Lots of love from Portland, Oregon, and Lee Ellen. So there you go. Yeah.
I've just got somebody knocking at the door, Patrick.
Go ahead and you got to leave?
No.
Go ahead and get that. I'll just talk to my people here a second. Go ahead and take care of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just like the way it feels. I just feel, I don't know, more balanced, more comfortable. Just feels better. Especially after talking with Andrew for these 2 times. I'm never going to go back. I say never. I'm never going to do it. That's all right. I was just telling folks that the way I did it, I found some really cool health books, some nice health books, and I just went and measured. I just got a combination of books that were exactly 6 inches.
Yes.
And some bigger, like more of almanac type books that I got with health and nutrition, and I thought that'd be fun to put those under there. I don't put anything spooky under there, and that's what I did, and it works great. I was able to even do it myself, and my bed's pretty heavy. I just lifted it up and slipped them under there, and it's exactly 6 inches on each side. It's probably important to make sure you get 6 inches on each side.
Yes.
Let's see. See if we got any other ones. Yeah, we're getting more in. I started using inclined bed therapy 3 weeks ago today. For the first 19 days, I raised a futon, and I really felt something changing. I felt more pain at times, and my feet swelled for a couple of days. Finally, for the last 2 nights, I was able to get my bed raised at exactly the proper height permanently. First night in my bed caused more pain in the morning, I suspect because of the different mattress. This morning, after the second night in bed, I've been moving much easier. I have been diagnosed with MS, but with your help, I realized that it was a mercury poisoning and have done a lot of the things to improve my physical symptoms. However, I still have a long way to go as far as pain in the lower back and legs are concerned. Still having quite a bit of pain with the inclined bed, but I can see a slight difference every day. I will continue to keep my bed inclined from this day on. There you go.
Excellent.
Just stay at it, Wrong?
Yeah, I have a theory on what's happening with people with multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
I believe that the circulation through the cerebrospinal fluid and through the myelin is actually making the myelin respond better. It's the myelin is like a liquid crystal. It behaves very similar to the LCD screens in the computers. Providing it's liquid, it has all the right properties to send signals to and fro. But what happens is it somehow stagnates and causes lesions, so it then becomes visible underneath an MRI scan. So if we can keep this circulation going, all the indicators, I've done a lot of work on people for people with multiple sclerosis, and we've had some phenomenal results as well. These lesions, I believe, could actually be resolved. One of our longest-standing ladies with MS, she doesn't feel she has MS anymore, and indeed her neurologist has told her that she doesn't need him anymore.
Wow. 13 after the hour, Andrew Fletcher, InclinedBedTherapy.com. Here's an email. I'm using 3-foot 6-inch boxes, and I have them at the head of my mattress. How far down should they be? Towards the top, the middle? How far down the mattress from the top should they be? I'm not sure what she's saying here.
No, I mean 3-foot-6 boxes.
No. What you want to do, tell her exactly what to do. Okay. I think this person's confused.
Yes, she just needs either books or bricks or blocks of wood cut at 6 inches.
6 inches.
Yeah, so she needs to raise the head end of the bed 6 inches. If the bed needs supporting in the centre, i.e. comes in 2 boxes, then she needs to support the joint with 3-inch blocks in the middle and then pop the casters off the bottom, and that prevents the bed from rocking off the blocks of wood.
Oh, sorry, I misread. I think she's doing it right. I'm using 3 6-inch boxes. I have them at the head of my mattress.
Oh, okay.
That's what you want, right?
Yes.
But she says, how far down should they be? They should be right at the head.
Right at the head end, yes.
Okay, that's what that. So I'm sorry, I misread that. Yeah, and then they shouldn't be at the top or the middle at all, right?
Shouldn't be any need, but if there's some sagging on the bed, then obviously
you could
because some of these beds have legs in the middle as well, so those will need chocking up as well to the right height.
Yeah, but she's doing the right thing. She is.
Yes.
Yeah, and some people, I don't know if you need 3, but 3's good. Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Could I just add a little bit in?
Sure.
Remember I said, with the sudden infant death syndrome, if we tilt the baby's cots, then there's a chance that the baby could end up with a head down and feet up. So someone suggested that you get a pair of Dad's boxer shorts and tie the 2 ends to the sides of the bed, to the cot, and then drop the baby inside the boxer shorts, and then there's no chance of the baby slipping down.
David Wolf teaches the opposite, writes John. Sleeping with your legs elevated is optimal, he says, because whenever we stand up, adrenaline is released to allow man to walk upright. This is how our remote ancestors were able to walk upright, releasing adrenaline. So he always sleeps with his legs elevated. He says this de-adrenalizing, when you stop the release of adrenaline while sleeping with elevated legs, your body can relax and repair itself, which you cannot do while the legs are elevated. He's just contradicting himself. I'm going to go with David Wolf on this one. You have any comment, John?
Yeah, again, if we go back to NASA's experiments with beds, they've encouraged and spent countless amount of money getting people to sleep with the head down and the feet up, only to examine how much they deteriorate.
Okay.
By confining them to bed. So in the long term, it's quite damaging, but even in the short term, it's been shown to be damaging. And in fact, this used to be called Trendelenburg, and it's been shied away from now because the literature's stating that it doesn't have any efficacy at all.
Mm-hmm. And how many years have you been doing this?
20 years.
And the results of people with their head up have been how much? I mean, a lot. Good results.
Oh, phenomenal results.
So it's contraindicated to what David's talking about. We're
Yeah,
going to have
improvements in eyesight as well. You know, you mentioned your eyesight. Has anything changed there, Patrick?
No, nothing. No, nothing yet. But I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so. So, you know, it's your bed. Do what you want. So we can just raise the mattress of the bed, writes an emailer. Raising the whole upper side of the bed seems difficult and a little dangerous regarding the stability of the whole bed, but we only need to raise the mattress to reach the effect, right? No, you want to raise the legs, right, Andrew?
Yeah, the whole bed needs to be raised,
Yeah.
Or, if they want to raise the mattress, do as we said, is to make a wooden wedge to fit underneath the mattress. And that will take away any risk of the bed falling apart.
Oh, but so that, you're okay with that, not the foam, though?
No.
Okay.
So I don't think the foam is the way to go, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
There
Andrew...
are inflatable wedges as well, but my wife and I tried one of these inflatable wedges, and it was a bit of an experience, to say the least.
Yeah, I wouldn't complicate it, folks. Just put some 6-inch blocks or books under your legs, and, you know, unless your bed is not going to stand that kind of stress, it works great.
Mm.
Huh? He says maybe Andrew and people who know about this already need to contact directly their government and the media instead of a single foundation in order to promote it and earn real support. Maybe even replace the word therapy so it can be accepted more widely and easily as normal, natural thing to sleep. Well, good luck with governments.
Yes.
Yeah.
What they tend to do is to refer you back to the to the universities, and the universities look in the literature and say, well, there's nothing in our literature that says this will work, so it can't possibly work. And you just keep going around like washing in a tumble dryer. You don't seem to get any further. But you do tend to get dried out a little.
Yeah, and the universities, God love them, they're supported by the pharmaceuticals and the big corporations, and that's where they get their funding. And
indeed, they do. Yes.
They're just not going to go there. I just call it what it is. It is what it is. It's planet Earth, and I'm sorry, but it is what it is. We
had an interesting comment from. Do you remember mentioning Joan Vernicos?
Sure, because we've had her on the show as well.
Yes.
Joan. Yeah.
Well, Joan passed on the interview to a nephew, who left a comment on YouTube, and the nephew's called Robert Taylor, and this is what he wrote. He says, Andrew, my auntie, Dr. Joan Vernicos, showed me your video, re ex-NASA extraordinaire, which he is. I plan to pass on your information to my patients here in Canada. Amazing video. Thank you, Robert, osteopath.
Huh? And what video was that?
And that the video I made of our interview.
Oh, and you
it's
put
just
it
yours truly talking to the screen.
Oh.
So I thought, well, that's a great way of sharing your radio station with the YouTube audience.
Yeah, and do it with this one too. Yeah.
Yes.
Put it up there because people find stuff on YouTube. You know,
yes,
God knows how they find it. I'm getting in late here, says Alexandria. Just got home. I started inclined bed therapy in July. I'm being a student of ballet and living with hard wood and tile for decades. I've had trouble with my feet, burning and tingling at the end of the day. After first night, it was greatly diminished and continues to improve. I have a 5-inch decline. Hope that's enough. The 8-inch rises were too much. Well, she just needs to add another inch. Do the 6 inches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever she's comfortable with.
Yeah. But do you think it would make a difference if she did the other inch?
Yeah, I think it would.
Why? Because you've done the science.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So there's a difference between 5 inches and 6 inches.
Well, I have a friend who actually sleeps on what looks like the north face of the Eiger. Yeah. Her bed is, I don't know how she manages to get to sleep. But she swears by it, and this lady would wake up every morning. Her hands would be paralysed. Again, another nurse, and she had a condition called psoriatic arthritis, which eats into the joints, affects the skin. And she's getting on. She's no spring chicken. She confessed to me that in 1995 she was almost ready for a wheelchair, and she's been great ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hi, here's an email from Linda. We've been sleeping on an inclined bed for the last 3 years. We really love it. It seems to have gotten rid of my sleep apnea. My veins seem to be improved, but have not gone away completely yet. Have trouble sleeping on a flat bed now. It was funny, we had a bed with legs under the middle of the bed. When we put the risers under it, it was raised much higher. Both of us ended up at the foot of the bed with our feet on the floor. Discovered that it has been raised 18 inches. Good thing we didn't have satin sheets. Love the show, Linda. That's funny.
Yeah, another great. We're getting some good feedback.
Yeah. It takes folks a little while. Let's see if I got another one here.
Well, could I say thank you for all those people that have given us feedback? I really appreciate this.
Here's one. The inclined bed has tipped the scale for me. Body was stuck. It improved almost everything. Digestion, back, sleep. I need less. Energy, I have more. Is there a reason my eyes seem to be more sensitive to sunlight? Wow. It's interesting.
Not heard that one before.
Well, that would mean they're probably improving, wouldn't it?
That could well be more light's getting into the eye.
Yeah. Yeah, my vision, it's not changed yet. So, but I've only been doing it. What was it? When were you on? What month?
Well, it's been 3 months ago.
Been 3
so
months.
You didn't start for 2 weeks.
No, I didn't start for 2 weeks. So, I've been about a couple months. Yeah. Let's see. Bridget writes back, I have my boxes under my mattress. Is that okay? That I just hear you say it needs to be under the legs. I have an old heavy antique bed, very, very heavy. Could not raise the legs. Okay. Yeah, so she's just doing it under her mattress.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, not ideal.
It's not ideal. Okay.
No.
All right, so what you do is you get a neighbor, get yourself 6 inches, and get a neighbor to lift up the bed while you put the, right?
Or even use a trolley jack if the bed's really heavy, but if you can borrow a car jack.
But not as good.
No,
not as good under the mattress. Okay. So you're going to even get better improvements if you do it under the legs. Just figure out how to get some help and have somebody lift up the one side, put the 6 inches out under there, then do the other side, and you'll be done in 2 minutes. Yeah. Here's one. Due to the style and position of my bed, I have not fully implemented 6 inches of incline, but for now I've achieved 3 inches by putting an object under the edge of my box spring. So far it has been a positive experience. Very next morning I felt my nose was a bit clear and my skeletal frame well aligned. No morning stiffness. A very slight spider vein on my left has diminished as well. I definitely plan to implement the full 6 inches. Yeah.
Great. I have a little challenge for you there. You'll find this interesting, Patrick. If you lie flat on the floor, what we've experienced is our head feels as if it's going down through the floor once we've been on an incline.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Here's one from Mickey. We inclined our bed, and after 3 weeks, I developed a hemorrhoid. I put a potato up there overnight and went away and back on the inclined bed and doing better. A potato? I've never heard of that one, boy. We hear it all here. Well, I don't know. Do you think that could cause the hemorrhoid? Could have been a coincidence.
Hemorrhoid, again, is a varicose vein. Yeah. I would imagine... he obviously experienced, or she obviously experienced.
And there's usually no coincidence, and so it could have been.
Yeah.
But hemorrhoids are also detoxification, in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But the potato.
Well, I don't know.
I'm trying to picture that one.
Evidently, that's a cure for hemorrhoids, is putting a potato up your bum, but,
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that. That's the first one for me, too. That's the first one. But we hear a lot of strange things that people put a lot of strange things up their bums here on One Radio Network. Oxygen and coffee and,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it seems counterintuitive, because isn't a hemorrhoid a circulation issue? And
Yes, it is.
And it should improve with inclined bed?
Well, yes.
Mm-hmm. And it does improve, we know that,
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that one.
Maybe the initial shift of fluid.
Yeah, it could be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if a potato made it go away, I guess we're all good.
Mm.
Oh, I bet it was fun, too. It's 27. Okay, Andrew, I guess we should go now because we're done with the... Well, this was good.
I've enjoyed.
We had a lot of emails.
Getting some feedback. We've had another interesting report which I can't mention on air because the guy wishes to remain anonymous.
But can't you just do an anonymous report?
Well, yeah, I suppose we could. But what is reported back is that he has a congenital, which means it's from birth.
Yeah.
A problem with potassium levels in his body.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like the goats that fall over. Have you ever seen those goats that fall over?
I haven't seen a falling goat.
Yeah, well, there is a problem there. I forget the name of the condition, but he's noticed huge improvements. And again, this is another congenital problem that requires further investigation. And he's trying to encourage a few people he knows to give it a test. Mm-hmm. But he's got nothing but positive things to say about this. He has tremendous problems with muscle stiffness. It'll take him 6 steps to get his muscles working so that he doesn't fall over. And now that doesn't seem to be a problem. He still gets some stiffness, but it's nowhere near the same as it was before. It's nowhere near as aggressive as it was before. And he's noticed that he's able to walk up and down stairs a lot easier as well. So, again, huge improvement in something that the guy's had from birth.
Excellent. Well, Andrew, you're a pleasure to talk to. His website, inclinedbedtherapy.com. Pass on these links. This is good stuff to everyone that you care about. And then when you try it, go on to our webpage underneath the show and put it in the comment section there. And then so everybody can hear your experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, to Andrew Fletcher's experiment and discovery of inclined bed therapy for the last 20 years. Andrew, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Patrick.
Say hi to the Queen Mom when you see her. Tell her
I'll try my best.
Tell her we love her, and say hi to all the Scots. You're going to see if they can become Mel Gibson and Braveheart tomorrow. We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see you soon.
I was just thinking about that potato. I can't get it out.
Yeah, I don't even want to
think. If you had a string vest, you could come out chips.
Yeah, chips, fish and chips. Okay, Andrew, we'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Patrick.
Andrew Fletcher. Potato up the bum. Oh, my. Okay, it's exactly 11:30 Central Time. That was an hour and a half of great information. Stephanie Seneff, I love you all very much. Thank you mucho. I think we're going to be talking about cancer tomorrow. Thanks to Sharon for setting up people like Andrew Fletcher and Stephanie Seneff. And I love you all very much. See you tomorrow.
Broadcasting from the beautiful Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.